I am the Iron Fist. Iron Fist came on Netflix in March and it opened to pretty rough reviews. Now, I'm not here to bash the show or jump on the hate train because honestly, I don't feel the show was that bad where you couldn't enjoy it on any level, but it definitely had its flaws. The show also had a lot of nonsensical controversy going on around it, which I won't be addressing here because it was stupid. Now, as for this show, it centers around Danny Rand, who's recently returned to New York after disappearing 15 years ago along with his parents. And he's the heir to $1 billion industry called Rand Industries, which was started by his father and his business partner, Harold Meacham. And because everyone thinks he's dead, he has to prove his identity and try to fight to reclaim the past life that he once had. Standing in the way of this are his two former childhood friends, Joy and Ward Meacham, who don't believe Danny is who he's claiming to be, and they're not interested in sharing the company's fortune. But Danny's also the immortal Iron Fist, which is a living martial arts weapon. And you discover what that actually means and a lot of the darker agendas currently going on at Rand Industries. Now, to start off with some of the positives of the show, I felt like Danny was very likable in the first few episodes of the season because you understand his frustration seeing that the people that he thought he would be able to rely on the most are his biggest obstacles in regaining his former life. And you feel bad for the character when he's constantly betrayed by these people. He also has a very likable, lighthearted, innocent quality to his character in the first few episodes that I feel like really worked for the character, and I can see him kind of playing that role in The Defender. But I feel like the character was stronger in the first few episodes because he actually had motivation, you understood what he was working for, and he wasn't as unlikable as he became towards the end of the season. Ward Meacham was another character I really liked in the show. He starts out as a simple evil corporate figure, but once you see the issues going on behind the scenes for the character and how he's struggling with feeling trapped by his father and wanting to desperately escape that, and how he's willing to go to extremes to escape that scenario, I found his story arc to be the most compelling thing in the series, honestly. We're also introduced to Colleen Wing, played by Jessica Henwick, who I feel like did a great job in the role. She has great action scenes. Her fight scenes were the best in the show, honestly. And I feel like her cage match fight was the highlight of the series as far as action goes. And she's also a very conflicted character because she's wrestling with her morals and beliefs, and the choices that she makes during the show kind of go against her beliefs. And she also wrestles with the fact that she kind of enjoys the things that she's doing more than she should, and she should feel wrong about it, but she doesn't, and that kind of weighs on her, and I found that very interesting as well. Her character actually gets a lot of screen time and a lot of development over the course of the series, and I feel like she was the best part of the show as far as from a martial arts standpoint. Claire makes an appearance in this series as well. She plays an even bigger role here than she did in Luke Cage, and she's playing her standard role of filling in the exposition for Danny's character from her experiences with Daredevil. She understands what the hand is and how it operates and how dangerous they can be. And Danny doesn't quite understand the gravity of the situation he's in. So she's there to kind of fill in the gaps for him, as well as patching up people who are bleeding and dying and things like that. So it's always good to see her character pop up in the show. It's a quality character you know you can count on. So I feel like they've been using her effectively in each series. They also bring in Jerry Hogarth from Jessica Jones, and she is the person who really gets things done for Danny as far as proving his identity legally. And she also gives Danny legal advice about how he should handle himself, now that he's in the corporate world and the public eye again. I feel like her and Claire's presence in the show gave the show a bit of a boost as far as acting quality. And when they're on screen, those are some of the best scenes and the best acted scenes in the series. Not that everyone else doesn't do a good job or a great job in some instances, but I feel like those two really brought another level of acting quality to the show. And now to get into some of the negatives about the show, I feel like once Danny accomplishes his goal of proving his identity, he doesn't really have any strong motivation after that. The show kind of stumbles around when it's trying to answer the question of why he exactly wanted to be the Iron Fist. And in the comics, you understand his reasoning for becoming the Iron Fist. He does so solely so he can get revenge on Harold Meacham, who he knows for a fact killed his father and caused the death of his mother. But things play out differently in the show. His family dies from a plane crash, and he doesn't suspect foul play. So there's no revenge motive there, and several characters ask him why is he the Iron Fist, or his friend Davos, who shows up at the end of the season, he asks him why did he steal the power of the Iron Fist and why did he pursue that, and Danny doesn't really have an answer for him. He asks him why did he leave and return to New York. he doesn't have an answer for him. So I was kind of confused as to why he would want to become the Iron Fist outside of bragging rights, because he's going to tell you throughout the whole show, every episode, several times, that he is the Iron Fist and he's the only person who can do it and he's the enemy of the hand, which he also states that he doesn't even believe in the hand at first. He thought they were a myth. Why would you take a job that specifically dictates that you protect your temple from the enemy that is the hand that you don't even believe exists? So his motivation for gaining the power of the Iron Fist was a little murky at best, and I felt like he lost a lot of strength as far as character motivation towards the end of the season. Another big letdown for the show were the fight scenes. Going into this series, I honestly expected the fight scenes to be better than what we got in Daredevil, because that's what Iron Fist does. He's a proficient fighter. That's the gist of his character. He's the best martial artist in the world, and he's the living immortal weapon. So they tell you this, they tell you how good he is, they tell you what all he can do and how he's been trained to do these things, but when you see his fight scenes, they're just underwhelming at best. I feel like his best fight scene was probably where he was fighting the guys with the axes when they were trying to kidnap Joy. But every other fight scene after that just kind of left me wanting more. The choreography was a little stilted, and I honestly felt like the fight scenes that Colleen got were a lot better than the ones we got with Danny, and that was disappointing because I feel like that's the one thing we should have been able to rely on going into this show, and we didn't get that at all. My last real problem with the series were the villains. Madame Gal was great as usual. You know, her presence is always interesting and intriguing, and you always wonder what she's up to and what she really has going on. But in this series, she gets undercut by a new character who's introduced, Bakudo, and he just kind of seemed like the opposite of Danny Rand, or another version of Danny Rand. He talks very slow and low, and he's peaceful, but he's dangerous, and you don't know what's going on with him. I felt like most of his dialogue with Danny was terrible, honestly, and I feel like he was one of the weaker villains in the show. Again, they keep building up these people to where you think and you expect you're going to get certain things from them, where you think you're going to get a great action scene, like, this is going to be the guy that Danny fights that's really going to be on his level, or that's where the action really is going to step up and we're really going to get a great fight scene. It's pretty standard stuff. They're doing pretty basic, run-of-the-mill choreography there, and it's just underwhelming. And throughout the show, you see Harold Meacham, who wasn't really a problem for me most of the series, but once we get to the end of the series and he's brought out as the final antagonist for Danny to face, I was kind of just shaking my head like, this is what we get? He's not a threat, really. Like, yeah, he can't die, but that's it. That's his only gimmick. Like, he can't fight either, and I don't think he's going to get lucky enough to kill Danny, obviously. There was absolutely no suspense there. And I feel like that was a major misstep for the show. Overall, I think the show was better than the Rotten Tomatoes scores say it was, because obviously there's some enjoyment to be had. I heard a lot of complaints about the boardroom meetings and things like that. None of that really bothered me. A lot of Danny's dumber antics that he does later on in the series, that kind of bothered me more than any of that. Like, he kind of switches between being innocent and naive to just being cocky and dumb. And I grew to like his character a lot less as the series progressed. And my biggest negative takeaway from the show was the fact that I found myself liking the supporting characters far more than the main character. And that was never the case in any of the other series. But with all that said, I'm going to get Iron Fist a 6 out of 10. I feel like with better fight scenes and better writing for his character as far as motivation goes, I feel like if that was better, a lot of the flaws that people have with the show would have been overlooked, because you get these great action scenes that are exciting and fast-paced and well choreographed, and you really understand the character, because in all the other shows, you understood what the character's motivations were. Daredevil, he wants to protect the city. Luke Cage, he wants to save Harlem. Jessica Jones, she wants to stop Kilgrave. Danny, he wants to tell you he is the Iron Fist. But those were my thoughts on Iron Fist. Let me know what you guys thought of Iron Fist down in the comments, and where would you rank it as far as the other shows. I personally had the first season of Daredevil as the best show, and behind that, Jessica Jones. Behind that, I would put Daredevil season 2, then Luke Cage, and then this. But I'm sure your list may be different, so let me know down in the comments. And that's it for all the series leading up to the Defender. And I'll be posting my review for the Defenders this Sunday. And if you don't want to miss that in any of my future videos, subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications for all my future videos. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'll put a link for that down in the description. And thanks for watching, guys. This is Two Cool Reviews, and I'll see you in the next one.